Greetings and salutations, guys. Eric here with a review this week of Civil War. This is the new film from Alex Garland, a filmmaker I'm a big fan of. I mean, just as a writer, starting out with 28 Days Later, moving on to Dread, which apparently he also directed a good portion of, even though it's not credited as such, and then on to Ex Machina, Annihilation. Just think he's done so many great things. Didn't love Men, but that's okay. Everyone isn't going to go 10 for 10 on everything they put out. This movie is really impressive, even if I sound a little guarded, because I think that it is also sort of strangely also a little one note, but it still is well worth seeing. This is set in a sort of near future, possible future, although really it just feels like a parallel present, where a civil war has broken out in America. And really, we're just dropped into the thick of it. We're not given that many details. It's funny, so many people have gotten really hung up on the fact that in the trailers, it's clear that Texas and California have teamed up in this civil war and saying, that would never happen. I don't get why people care that much. It's a movie. And because we don't get a ton of backstory, there can be a million reasons why it happened. What led to the unlikely pairing, yes it is, of Texas and California, because in this movie, it's happened. Just like in movies, zombie apocalypses happen and a lot of other things happen. There was a reason, and they teamed up, and now we are well into this civil war. And the focus here is on a group of journalists, specifically Kirsten Dunst's character Lee, who is a very veteran photojournalist, and her friend Joel, played by Wagner Moura. They have decided that they're going to go to Washington, D.C. and try to get an interview with the President of the United States, played by Nick Offerman. Again, we don't get a ton of details, but we know he's in his third term. There's definitely a dictator thing happening here, and that they want to talk to him, someone who has not talked to the press in, I think they say 14 months. And they get a couple of tag-alongs with them on their journey. They get another veteran, an older reporter named Sammy, played by Stephen McKinley Henderson, and they get a very young, green, aspiring photojournalist, played by Kaylee Spaney, named Jesse, who very much idolizes Lee. And so the four of them, it's a road trip movie. They are going from New York to Washington, D.C., but in the midst of this civil war happening, where they are going to encounter a lot of different people, a lot of different factions, and see a lot of different things that has become very commonplace for them. Like I said, there is something that stopped me from absolutely loving this movie on the level that I have loved a lot of other Alex Garland films. Oh, I forgot to mention Sunshine that he wrote, another great, great movie. Maybe it's because it makes its point very strongly, very early, and then I don't feel like it gives it a lot of places to go. I mean, this is a movie about basically the dehumanization that happens during war, and that, on both sides, because they encounter people from both sides, and as journalists, they kind of tag along with people from both sides, and they see them commit atrocities, and they see them basically have completely tuned out the fact that the people that they are dealing with are other humans, much less other Americans. And now it's just like, take them down, they are targets. And obviously that's a strong point, and there's a lot of truth there. I just think the movie hits that so heavy early on, doesn't give it a lot of places to go as it continues. We're kind of seeing variations on that theme again and again in the movie. Not to say that there aren't harrowing sequences. I just kind of wish that there was somewhere else that the movie could kind of grab onto. It feels a little bit repetitive by the end. That being said, the filmmaking here is really impressive, and I do recommend seeing this movie, and I definitely recommend seeing it in IMAX if you can. I saw this movie at an IMAX screening at the Chinese Theater, and it is really impressive. I don't know for sure that it's the biggest budget A24 movie, but I think it's got to be. I think the budget is like $50 million, which I realize is still, in the scheme of things, small compared to your giant, studio blockbusters. But this is a much bigger scale movie than we're used to from A24 and from Alex Garland as a director. It feels really big and massive, like it should, and especially when they go into the battle scenes. And there is definitely scenes where, these journalists are following along as huge firefights are happening around them, and aerial fights, and just all these incredible things are happening, and it puts you in the thick of it. It looks great. It looks, in no way does it look like a cheaper movie than we're used to seeing scale like this. And so, yeah, I just thought, wow, this is pretty incredible. And also, again, I think that they do the good job of, it's not like cool action. It is oh my God, there is death and danger around every corner, which is appropriate for what this film is. Also, the cast is really great. It's really nice to see Kirsten Dunst in this leading role and playing such a different sort of hardened character. She has gone to many wars and seen many things. We get kind of a ghastly montage of the things she's seen and experienced. And we understand that, this has taken a toll on her, as you would understand it would. Experiencing this over and over again, versus Wagner Moura's character Joel, who is still at least got the air of excitement all the time, like, oh, just wanting to be the one to get the story, get the scoop, be in the thick of it. And the movie does talk about that, as far as like, because we have this a protege character with Jessie, and she is someone who is freaked out. She's this young woman who is experiencing and seeing things she's never seen in front of her, but at the same time can't avoid also feeling that adrenaline, that excitement, which Lee understands, even if she's kind of turned off that part of her at this point. And then Stephen McKinley Henderson, I think he always adds such a great vibe to anything he's in. I was one of the many people who bemoaned that he wasn't in Dune 2 because I loved him in the first movie. And he's great. The four of them, I think, make a really good group. And, we're in the car with them for a lot of the movie. And the fact that they're such likable actors, giving such strong performances. Kaylee Spaney, coming off of Priscilla, she's going to star in the new Alien movie. Just obviously like a huge star on the rise. And I think the four of them just work so well off each other. Yeah, it's Nick Offerman, I should also mention, has the president. It's a smaller role than I think the trailers make it seem, but it's nice to have an actor like that, which as much as he's great at comedy, also just brings gravity to a role. And he's not playing comedic character here, but you just kind of get enough by having him play this character and hearing a little bit about him, about where things might have started and where things ended for this character, as far as the fact that he's in his third term now, and why people might be pretty angry about that. By the way, if you have not seen Devs, which is the FX miniseries that Alex Garland did a few years ago, highly recommend it, first of all. And second, ton of the cast from that. Many of the people I just mentioned, but others as well, pop up in this movie. There are definitely a huge Devs crossover here, and as someone who loved that series, I was happy to see them popping in and out here. There are hugely memorable scenes in this movie, and there were definitely scenes you've seen Jesse Plemons in the trailers as a really, really a small but integral and very powerful role himself, playing a very nasty character. There's a little bit of, fun is a strange word to use in the context of this. It's interesting to see him in a scene with his real life wife, Kirsten Dunst, when all these people exude in real life is such sweetness and love for each other, playing anything but a sweet, loving couple in this film. He's great. A lot of other actors who kind of pop in and out as, because like it is a road trip movie and they're going to encounter these different people along the way. I think are all great. So yeah, it's this just really well-made film that I also think doesn't quite become everything it could be by the end. When it ended, I felt there was something lacking, just maybe because I felt like in the first half hour you get everything you really need to from the movie, and it's not that it's overlong. I just think that maybe there could be something else in there. I don't know, something else to give it a little more nuance along the way. And I don't need it to have, people were bringing up, of course, the fact that this movie exists at all. It's like, well, we are a very divided country, and this is taking it to its like scariest, like, oh my God, are we heading their place? I don't mind that the movie doesn't get really super direct with the parallels to this, what's going on politically right now. Like, there are still places you could go with the idea of that, about how this character might connect to someone in real life, but it's not trying to do that one-to-one. And I don't think it needed to, honestly. Again, going back to my fact that I don't think the Texas-California thing is a horrible idea in this movie. Why not in the movie? But I do think that it just felt like there was something else it could have used that's not quite there. And yet, I think watching this movie, it is just a really well-crafted, well put together film. And I know this sounds a little hollow, but maybe that's because I think the movie is a little hollow, while also, worth your time, worth checking out. So those are my thoughts on Civil War. And please watch Devs as well on FX, or on Hulu, which also, by the way, didn't have an ending I love, but still great. Alex Garland, I think, just, continually makes interesting, films and TV series. I'm really glad that we get new stuff from him, even when it's men, even when it's a movie that didn't really work for me at all. I think his stuff is worth checking out. So wonder what everyone's going to think of it. All right, guys, that's it for now. Take care. Bye.